Thank you very much for the warm introduction. Industry leaders indeed. So brief introduction to myself. I work in the UK on our sports partnerships team. As part of that role, I work with sports partners right the way through broadcasters, leagues, associations, individual athletes, and original programmers as well. So I work right the way across the ecosystem, and I've had a great pleasure over the last few years in this role to work with some great partners, and two of them are on the stage with me now. So I'll first introduce Dean Stobbart. Dean is an original programming creator on YouTube. He has been creating content in a cartoon parody sort of approach on his channel. And before he makes his introduction, I think we've got a clip of what he produces.
Tunes! The ridiculous world of football, animated. Topless?
Buenos dias. I'm Zlatan. Who the hell are you?
Whoa, whoa.
I'm Harry. Damn you, Zip.
Match reviews published within 12 hours of the game.
Can I help you at all? Penalty.
Adam the Llama passes it, not so Super Mario scores. Film parodies. Drink this.
Eggs? It's alright. I've got my own.
Not cream eggs, Don-ish.
Barca Man versus Superman.
It's not Superman, it's Superman. Idiot.
I will phone home.
Song parodies.
This boss has lost again, lost again, lost again. A hat-trick.
All you ever did was break me.
And more Mickey taking silliness.
Perfect. Round of applause for 414s. Fantastic. And on the other side of the spectrum, we've got Laura Woods, who works at Sky Sports and is the presenter on the Soccer AM channel. So less of the traditional, or less of the kind of endemic creator on the platform and more traditional media moving across into that creation. So we'll now watch a quick clip from Soccer AM.
It's for me! Oh, you remember?
Yo.
Thank you so much. What are you doing to my cheek? Oh, it's so weird. You got me a rose.
Second one, I think.
Would you like his hairstyle now?
No, I don't like it.
I
don't think any Belgian likes it.
Oh, it's weird. Oh, it's so good. All right, you go. Bye-bye. One man with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
It's typical in Belgium.
Lucky man here. Yeah. Are any of you interested in him though?
No one.
If you are, you can. Yeah, I got his number. Cheeky number to know. It's my husband.
We are Belgium! We are Belgium! We are Belgium! We are Belgium!
No, you keep it. Stop it, we're not. Oh, gosh.
A round of applause for Soccer AM. So, Laura, I guess we'll start with that video. Do you want to explain how that came about, or what part of strategy that is for Soccer AM?
Yeah, so what we started doing when we started doing the Soccer AM online stuff was producing content that we thought a younger audience would like to watch. And we found that they engage more when you're talking to the fans and you're showing them almost a window into what they're missing. So especially for the European Championships, we wanted to be here. We're not showing them the football, but we're showing them what they are missing. So we're going in and we're talking to fans. We're going into campsites. We're playing games with them, penalty shootouts, those kind of things. And we found that the Belgian fans, the reason we showed you this clip is because the Belgian fans in particular have been amazing. And it's just, yeah, there we go. And just started to play football as well. And that's what we want to show. That's what we want to give our audiences a taste of what they're missing.
And Dean, how does that play into your thought on feeding that thirst for all the content that's outside the 90 minutes? Because on YouTube, we've got the highlights in many territories, but then there's so much other content that people are just so thirsty for to get hold of before, during, and after.
Yeah, I guess my strength with what I do is that it's the next day's kind of my reaction to it. So people that have invested their time in a match, they can watch a cartoon based on it and kind of think, oh yeah, there was that moment, and they're just looking for a, you know, as satire kind of goes, they're looking for a twist on that match. It's just more content that isn't just watching the highlights again or watching the goals again or more interviews. It's just something, a completely different take on it that no one really is doing at the minute, thankfully, other than me.
Yeah, for sure. So me and Dean actually have a connection from a while back, other than just being a handsome young gentleman. We were both teachers back in the day. So I was a sixth form teacher, and you actually, before you started YouTube, or during your YouTube career, were a primary school teacher. So do you want to explain how the audience kind of gave you that encouragement to think, right, here's an opportunity,
yeah,
I'm going to move into
I started doing it just as a hobby in my spare time. I was a deputy head teacher in a primary school, having to keep it on the down low just because it wasn't always the most child-safe content. Not that it was too bad. So I kind of got a reaction from doing mainly World Cup 2014. One video I did, I woke up the next day, got to my lunch break, and it had like 1 million views, which at that point was insane. And over that whole tournament, it got something like 26 million views, these daft cartoons I was making in my bedroom. And it was all that interaction, the comments, the fact that people were so positive, even if they didn't like the result, or that I was maybe picking out a player that had made an error. They were just so engaged with it and asking for more and saying, why didn't you do my match? Why didn't you do this? Why haven't you done this? Do this, do this. And like begging for their players to be featured. And it's the same now with the teams that are in it. My messages are just always full of, please include this player, who's my favourite. But that absolutely was the key behind me doing that far more than I should have been doing my full-time job. And it was kind of ways out of marking, ways out of teaching. And you go and do this, kids, and I'll just finish my cartoon.
Cool. And from the Sky Sports perspective, what was that push that made you think, right, we need to move away from just the 90 minutes, which was your bread and butter, to actually producing that outside the 90 minutes content? What made you click and think, we need to do this?
I think everybody at Sky Sports would agree that we feel we're quite late to the party. So everything that's been happening online, it's very easy for a big corporation like Sky to almost pretend it's not there. And I think a lot of other companies would agree that they probably did the same. And they realise now that the younger generation aren't consuming the way that we did when we were a little bit younger, or our peers. They're consuming everything when they want to view it. It's on demand. They like having the connection where they almost feel like they can influence what you're putting out. And in this case, they really do. So we have shifted. We started in September. We've shifted what we've put on our platform so much, and that's the beauty of it, is that you don't have to start a series, film 10 of them, and then realise 2 in that this isn't working and having to go through the rigmarole of, oh, we've got another 6 of these to put out or whatever. You can just can it, and people don't tend to mind, and that's what we're doing. And we realise that what you're seeing when you watch football, what you're seeing when you watch the TV and you've got the analysis afterwards, or pre-game, post-game, half-time, sometimes a younger audience are less interested in that, and they're more interested in the way things work behind the scenes, or the extra stuff that they can see, or the funny side of it, especially for Soccer AM, because we are light-hearted and we're less about analysis. So we're giving them the opportunity to watch things that are much less scripted, less produced. I mean, it's easier for us, actually. It's much cheaper for us, but they seem to really enjoy it, and that's what we're trying to hone in on. Cool.
And Dean, from your perspective, what sort of content do you find really hits home with the audience that you're after?
Yeah, my best work is always the match review, so it's getting it out for the next day. So, for example, the match tonight, Sweden versus Belgium, then there will be a video tomorrow. So that's what works best, because it's the game that people have seen. So it's like more reaction. The stuff I do that's better for engagement, like involving them with, they can put questions to the characters. So like I do a Q&A series, so they can ask a question to my version of Ronaldo, and then there's a video answering that. That's best for engagement, but for pure views, reach, and for getting over 1 million on a video, it's normally for bigger matches like El Clasico and things like that.
And how do you weigh up that balance between just the viewership and the importance of the engagement?
Yeah, it's just having a kind of not a formal cycle, but just kind of, I'll do the match ones and then try and squeeze in the fan ones where it's Q&As, but with so much football on, it's you know, they like the match ones are the best, and they like that the best, even though it's not as good for pure engagement. So I tend to prioritize that.
I think we've actually got another clip that we can show you from 4 Toons, which kind of demonstrates that point of that type of content.
Yes, yeah.
Yo, I'm VIP! Let's kick it!
All right, stop. Look at me and listen. You're not the only one here who glistens. 1-0, and your Sutton will lose.
Yes.
Not with your defense standing around like statues.
What the hell? God damn, they're so shit. Check out my pecs while I go and solve this.
Iceland, baby.
Pass the ball to me!
Iceland, baby.
Pass the ball to me! Deadly!
Wow, nice fail.
Headley!
He's no good at fail.
Volley!
Why, are you swatting flies?
Set piece!
Is it Kane in disguise?
Time has run out, it's not my fault, not me! Who do I blame? Hey, come here, referee!
We checked out your pecs while you tried to solve it. Perhaps you really have switched with that young kid.
Cheeky bastard!
Iceland, baby.
Give me back my shooting skills!
Iceland, baby.
You little shit!
Word to your mother. How many should Ronaldo have scored tonight? Comment below. And also remember to like, comment, subscribe, and check out more videos below.
Thanks for watching!
Round of applause. Round of applause. As a sports partner manager, what do you think I get most excited about in that video?
Cristiano Ronaldo's chest?
No, no, no. The question at the end, comment. Like, you're straight away posing that question. Why is it so important to do that sort of thing to get the audience involved?
Yeah, I was reluctant to do it because just as somebody who gets irritated quite easily, it was always like, comment below, like, do this, do this. I thought it was patronizing and just a bit, you really have to say that, but you really do, because it does generate that interest, the comments, and then that's getting the video shared, there's more engagement, which is going to increase the reach. So, and it just builds that community that they'll respond to. Sometimes I don't put a question, I put my personal opinion, and that triggers more intense debate or offense at how dare I insult, you know, Ronaldo, or that he didn't score. So.
Yeah. And how important, Laura, do you think that community aspect is for creators on the platform when there is so much competition, so much different content, and people looking for so much content? How important is the community aspect to make sure that they come back to you rather than anyone else when there's just so much to watch on the platform?
It's massive. You have to have a voice, and you have to be able to engage with your viewers, and they need to know what to expect from you, which is what I think you do very well, is they know exactly what they're going to get when they go to your channel. And also I think that, like I said before, the idea that they can influence makes them want to come back, especially if you're asking them questions or comment in the box below, and a question always works really, really well because then they get involved. But I always think it's also very important not to ignore them once you've asked that question. Go back in and get involved in that conversation. Make sure that they are aware that you see them, and you can spark a little bit more debate. And that's what the comment section is all about. You know, that's what we do. If we watch a football game, we go to Twitter and we look at the debate, or we go to YouTube and we have a look at the comment box below and we want to know what they're arguing about. Sometimes it's nothing to do with your video, but the comments are great anyway. And that's why the community is a really strong word with the online field, because that's what the youth of today are. They are an online community.
Totally. And I think we've got an example of some more Soccer AM content that kind of illustrates getting people involved in the content.
Dean is ready. He's set himself up as Liverpool. He's playing Man United. This is Matt Fernando. Matt is going to be our distraction king. Come in here, Matt. Are you ready for the first one?
I'm ready.
Brilliant. Okay. Here's the first one. Go for it. Distraction number 1 down. He's doing a good job. You all right, Dean?
All right.
Yeah. Brilliant. Next one. Big ball.
scored.
He's just scored. These distractions are fine, aren't they? Matt's getting quite creative there. Matt, you look like you've done this before.
Yeah, this is... I've got two sisters. So.
Still enjoying it, Dean?
Still enjoying it.
He's checking
Still
fine.
2-0 up.
He's absolutely fine.
It's a bad pass.
Best distraction yet.
Hey, Dino.
Right, Jamie, lad.
How are you, mate?
Good, mate.
You'll be going to New York, aren't you?
I am, mate.
Who you're up against in this World Cup?
Up against the...
Come on, keep playing, keep playing.
I am. Against...
Don't switch, you never switch off in the big games.
One of the best players in the world.
I think that's a great example of bringing the kind of broadcast assets that you already have, but putting it into a YouTube environment. What's really interesting about the thirst outside the 90 minutes and all the stuff before and after is how you can break it down into lots of different parts of the community, including FIFA gaming. Yeah. So how have you tried to incorporate gaming into the Soccer AM broadcast piece and vice versa?
The gaming world, we probably would admit, is the most difficult aspect of that's the bit that we find hard to get across. And this was an idea. The FIFA Interactive World Cup was happening in New York. This was probably about 2 or 3 weeks before all the lads set off. And we decided to get in contact with the guys that were representing England, and Dean was one of them. So he's a serious gamer, and it just posed an opportunity for us to cross over into that world, see how well the views are. But like you say, bring in a little bit of the Sky Sports element that we can control. And this one was surprising. This one did really well on YouTube. And personally, I don't think that it was because Jamie Carragher was in it. I think it's because people really enjoy watching. Joe blogs, he's really good at FIFA gaming. They're really interested. It's the voyeuristic element of it that we know does well with other FIFA gamers that play on YouTube. And we asked the question, how else can we distract him? And there was so much engagement on this video. I think people just found it really funny. And I think also he's just, he could be anybody that's watching. So people like the idea that this guy is just a normal bloke. We've put him in a room. We've covered him in distractions. He did really well with all of them. I did feel a little bit guilty at one point, but he enjoyed it. He promised he enjoyed it. And then, his hero came in. I'm sure that did something for the video. But that was our way of trying to cover FIFA, using somebody like Jamie Carragher, who's obviously his hero, and having a little bit of fun with it as well. Amazing.
And Dean, how have you experienced trying to experiment with different content that maybe doesn't necessarily work? Have you tried adapting it? Do you just write it off? Like, how do you use the audience to fulfill that?
Yeah, more often than not, they like a change. So there's not been anything that's really bombed. I did try a few things that went away from football, maybe bringing in other cultural things like the TV shows like X Factor or darts, to have footballers kind of going into other worlds. That one didn't get the response that I'd hoped for, but it's nice to kind of have a break and then return to it. So I've not had to really write anything off and go, that was a disaster, an absolute, disaster. But you can just see that it doesn't do as well as, like I said, that main thing is the match highlights type is the best, so not to lose sight of that.
Have you had any bomb videos on Soccer AM?
Yeah, we've had loads of bomb videos. And that's the great thing about it, is you can pretend it never happened, move on, because you'll put a daily video out and it'll get lost in the bog of videos. But you can't be down about it, because you've tried it. And like I said, that's the beauty of YouTube, is that you've tried it once, you can immediately see the views, you don't have to wait for ratings, you can engage with people and find out why they don't like it, and then you don't bother doing it again. That's pretty much it. There was a video that we tried where we had this great idea where we'll follow fans during their away days from the one side of the country to the other. It turned out to be a really long day. The more drunk they got, I don't know why we didn't see it coming. And we found that focusing sometimes on one set of fans can alienate other groups. It doesn't always work out like that, but I suppose that when you watch it, if you're a die-hard Liverpool fan, you're not really going to want to follow. I mean, I know you kind of are, aren't you? You a Liverpool fan?
Oh, no.
Whoops. You're not going to want to watch Man City. You're not really going to be involved in their fans. So you put that aside, you learn for it, and then you move on.
For sure. If there was one tip, just one very quick tip that you would give to anyone that was setting up a channel, what would it be? With in mind the football fan and just how enthusiastic they are.
I suppose he's trying to find something that's, for me, is distinct, that puts you separate from the amount of content that's already out there, to try and find. I mean, there's other ways you could try and match people's content, but to try and find, if at all possible, a unique angle on it and unique take on it.
For sure. And yourself, Laura?
I think, as well as that, I think also passion. So that comes through. If you're passionate about what you're producing, people that are watching get that enthusiasm, and you have to be enthusiastic, and the knowledge comes with that. If you're not passionate about something, you don't know enough about it, and there's nothing that you can offer your audience, because they'll come there for entertainment, they'll stay, you know, if there's a little bit of insight, if there's knowledge in there, and something that they can really enjoy and aspire to be like, because a lot of the people that are watching probably have dreams of doing their own thing. I think that's why YouTube's great, because you can watch something, if you like it, you can go and give it a go yourself. You don't need a big TV studio or 20 staff to help you do that.
Great. So thank you very much, both of you, for all the work actually over the last 2.5 years that I've done with you as partners. To celebrate just how successful Dean has been, and I don't know whether any of you heard an announcement earlier, we actually have one spare ticket for tonight's game between Belgium and Sweden. And that one spare ticket is actually sat alongside Dean. So whether you want to see it as a date with Dean or going to the football match, that's
not a date with Dean.
That's up to you. So what we're going to do in football spirit, to find out who is the biggest superfan that really wants this, is we're going to do a Mexican wave from this side of the room to that side of the room. And as voted by Dean, the most enthusiastic waver will get the spare ticket to this evening's match. So we're going to start off over there with a Mexican wave. If you really want to win it, you've got to go really enthusiastic. So 3, 2, 1. Dean, who do you think? Who do you want to go with?
I need to see again. One more.
Okay, one more. We'll start from this side this time. One more. So 3, 2, 1, go. Dean, up to you.
I think this gentleman down here.
Gentleman in the corner. Round of applause to the gentleman in the corner. And round of applause to our great YouTubers. Yeah, not hosts. Great YouTubers. Laura from Soccer AM and Dean from 44 Tunes. Oh, have you got one question at the back?
Hello.
Yeah, hit us. You've got a microphone behind you.
Oh, sorry. One of the pushbacks we often hear is, is it quality? And I'd like to hear your point of view of passion versus production. What wins with the viewers?
To me, it depends what scale of quality you're on, but they'll forgive you. Oh, sorry, Dan, have I jumped in there?
No, carry on. Yeah.
They'll forgive you on, certainly with my stuff, which is time dependent, they'll forgive you on little errors here or there, because it's more about the story, it's about the voice, and it's about interacting with it. I mean, my stuff it's certainly not going to be Pixar, it's not going to be anything like that, but it's of a good enough quality for the space it's on, I believe, so there's not an issue, and it's certainly, I rarely get anyone saying, this is so badly animated, or the production's so poor, I can't watch this. So, yeah, but then there's an odd video that I've put out on a lower frame rate, and I've had a couple of comments then that this isn't up to its usual standards, so you do need to keep your standard that you've set, I guess. But I've not had any major issues with that.
We always say when it's in your control, if you have a light there, that's great, use it. If you have a microphone, use it. But really for us, immediacy is important as well. So if you're reacting to something that's just happened and you really want to get something up straight away, bearing in mind a lot of these people watch on their phones and things like that, you have to weigh up whether this is time sensitive. So if it is time sensitive, get it up immediately. And the viewers are a lot more forgiving than they are watching TV. We don't really have a lot of comments about things like that at all. But when it is within your power, and if it's not immediate and it's something that you can be really proud of, production value certainly helps. Make the effort to put the production value in and be proud of what you've put out. But I mean, it's such a different platform to TV, and that was one of the things that when we started working with Whistle Sports, Jeff down there, hey Jeff. When we started working with Whistle Sports, that was one of the things that he said, you need to chuck everything that you've ever learned in TV out of the window, which was very difficult for all of us to do, but you suddenly realise that it is a completely different world. And actually sometimes things that are overproduced remind these viewers far too much of what they can get on TV, which is a really polished final product. And these guys want to see what you are really like. They want things to be organic and they want things to be real, and sometimes that's the draw of it. If it is rough and if you make a mistake, which we do a lot of the time, especially the stuff that we do that's live, it's the joke of it that you roll over, you admit that you've done something wrong, and it's funny, and then you move on. And people like the rough-edged nature of it.
Cool. Thank you very much for the question. Have we got time for any more questions? Am I getting evils from the back? Time for one more question. If there's anyone that has any questions specifically on the thirst for football outside of the 90 minutes. If not, go and enjoy the sun. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you again for our panelists, and enjoy the rest of your day.